Then I'm going to the point. What is Java? As you already have a programming experience and either C++ or some basic Java or some other app. So Java is a programming language, and it's an object-oriented programming language. And what is object-oriented? That you know, right? That we'll talk about. I mean, in this Java, we generally treat everything as an object, set of objects, and then the relation between the objects and then the calling of the objects from one to others, and whole in whole language we'll talk about the objects. What does the object behave? How the object calls? How the objects operate, and etc. etc. But before that, there is the history behind it to the object oriented, because it's started from monolithic languages like a basic, where you everything you write an instruction in one program, and that we called it first generation of programming. And then something we started procedural programming like Fortran, and then structured programming came like C and Pascal's, and then where we talking about the set of functions, and set of functions and data are the separate entities, and all the functions which operate over data are not together. It's like separate entities, where they talk about the C language or any structural programming language. Then the object oriented came, and Java is one of that. C++ is again where you have the data, and then functions is clubbed together and bind it together, because we feel that data is very important, because data and function need to be bind together, otherwise there's no meaning of data, and we call it object. And then this binding we call is something like data abstraction or data hiding. That we're going to learn it basically. But this the journey is, like you say, is like starting from monolithic to object oriented programming, and then that is basically behind the whole programming journey of the language. Now, what is the unique? Why Java is unique? Basically, there are many object-oriented language. Object-oriented basically is not only Java, or object-oriented is a concept, and on the basis of that, many languages have been built. It C++ is one of that. Why Java is unique, and what is the I mean, or how it's unique to other languages? One thing is that Java has something called bytecode. Have you heard something called bytecode? Let me explain that. See, when anything you compile it, when you have a program, you do either you interpret or compile it, then it's become a machine executable code, right? Or as we call it, object code, source code to object code, and then you're converted to loader and linker and so on to load your program and get in the machine level instruction to execute that. But the Java has the unique feature, something called the bytecode, intermediate code, that you write a Java piece of code, compile it. So there is a compiler we are going to use, is something called Java C. So yeah, and all the Java programs basically extension with .java. So you write abc.java, you compile it, then it becomes something called abc.class file. So we call it that class file as we call it bytecode. That has unique feature that it can be interpret to any other machines. So it's like you compile once, but execute everywhere, anywhere. And that class file basically is a next step is called Java interpreter we use. So we interpret those class file to again machine execution code, machine level code, and that is basically last step of running the code. So the bytecode has the magic that so it's like think like when the Java started, it's like more of embedded languages like devices, electronic devices, and others, PDAs, and other, because that have a very less memories and less. I'm talking about not now because when the Java started, Java is primarily for that you write a code and put that your bytecode in some other machine where you really load it and then executed it. So it's like your development environment is different, and then you get that bytecode executed on your electronic devices and run it. So that was the primarily, but it expanded. Then Java is something called started to J2EE, Java to a standard edition, and then new features come after internet, and when the internet features come when you're sharing everything with the client and server model. And then we call it something a new part of Java. We call it Java to Enterprise Edition, where you're talking about client servers and different services that you host on particular machine and set up client going to be serviced by that. And then we have a Java to Micro Edition also, or we call it J2ME, where you write the programs for your mobile devices. So it's basically three flavors in Java. But Java, J2SE, we call it Java to Standard Edition, is the foundation. So what we are going to look, we called it also called as core Java. So whatever you learn in J2SE, basically that is going to be foundation of J2ME and J2E or JE, Java to Enterprise Edition. Okay. So compiler and execution means Java is a two-step compilation. One is the Java compilation, another is the interpretation that we're going to learn. So in whole course we are going to use some environment to write our program. We called it IDE, Integrated Development Environment, and that are many Java IDE available for writing the program. One of that is Eclipse. So you can go and download if you don't have. Okay. Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're doing, so am I the only one who's listening to, who's on audio, by audio, or does everybody have like a video access to see, how you download the JVM and things of that nature?
Okay. So Karthik, I think you have a Java, Eclipse, right?
Yes, I do have.
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
sorry, Pawan, 1 minute. So Travis, just to help you out, so in case if you would have got an email from Surinder or someone from MindsMapped, so there would have been a link. So you can download an app in your mobile and you can even see what Pawan is sharing. So in case of
I downloaded the app, but it's not quite responsive. It just says it's still, yeah. So.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Pawan.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have my own Eclipse. So I can use show you how it looks like.
I have a different version which is called Mars. Is that a problem or?
No, that's quite okay. Okay. So, okay, first, what you need to have is, this is something like a first program we are going to write. And I keep believe that learning through programming is a good way of learning. So I will start a small program and then we'll go to the slides again, that whatever the concept we are going to learn it. So if you have this Eclipse, so any version of Eclipse is okay. And you are, for Eclipse you must have in Java on your machine. So you can check with the command prompt like Java -version. So it gives you the version of your Java. So for example, in my machine, so if like this, so we send this, my machine JDK is something called 1.8.0 underscore 45. So that version we call it 1.8, and 45 is basically build number. So 1.8 is the latest version of Java, and in loose way we call it Java 8 also. So either you say Java 1.8 and or Java 8 is the same. So someone say which version of Java you're using it. Then you can check your machine and say that if it is 1.7 point something, you can say Java 7 or or 1.7. Basically, we call it Java 7. So that is about your version of your Java, checking of the Java. And if you give in your command prompt like this, so it says saying Java C is not recognized, but because its path is not set. But if you put a Java, you will only write Java JVA. You will get something like this. So it means JVM is set in my machine. Okay. Now, if you go to Eclipse, you create something like a new Java project and say something like give some name on this project. So this project will be using in all the training. So this is something, say Java training, and then next. If you see this, Eclipse also have a JDK inbuilt. So if you say this, Eclipse uses it is a Java C 1.7.0 for my Eclipse. So that's quick. Okay, that is the JDK 1.7, and then we call it finish. You see, you will get something like a SRC folder, and these are your library. This is the Java libraries. In SRC folder, we call it source folder. We can create something called package, and something say called its day one. So we'll write. We'll talk about what is a package, but this package, SRC also a package within that the day one I put it in package. So you can write a small program, something like go to new and then class, and say something like program 1. So I put it just in one line that we call system.out.println. Basically, this is a print statement, and and then I saved it. That is Control S. Now look this program. This is something called package that we are going to learn in coming classes. So leave this for a moment. Now focus in this. Public, class, and program 1. So since Java is a object-oriented language, so everything we'll talk about, whatever you write, so it will be part of some classes. And basically class and then something called object. So that we're going to learn what is the relation between class and object. But class, you can say that everything we need a class. So my class name is a program 1. So when I save this, it will be something called program1.java. So I save is something called program1.java. And this class have a method public static void main, and then it's taking an argument a string sags. Name could be anything, but it should be there as a string. And then it has within that we have put it a print statement. It's like an in C++ or C is it's a printf statement. Scanf and printf. Here is a printf. Is a system.out.println. So whenever you put the system dot, you cannot change this signature. It's basically system. You can arrange it, rearrange it like void and static, but this will need be static void main and string arg. So this is the something. Why we cannot change that, or why cannot? Why the compiler need this signature only to enter your program? Because this is something you give a compiler or Java compiler to hint that this is my starting point of my program. Because when the loader started, you heard something called loader and linkers. After when Java interpreted. So when the loader started, and then where to start the program? Where is the starting point of your program? So that is basically is a main method, and it will starting the loading the main program first. So therefore, so there you could have many classes like a program 1, you could have a program 2 and program 3, but only one main method in one of the classes will have, and then your file name should be that.java where this main method lies. So if it is a program 1.java, so it's like in program class you have is main method where we are going to start it. If it is that the starting point of your program. Now how to run this? You go something called a run. So you directly click on run method, and it will run it. And then it's asking for run on server and Java application. So it's a Java application. It's not J2EE component. So we'll go to Java application, and then it's okay. And it's printing into the statement welcome in Java. Other way to run it, just right click here, and here is run as, and you select Java application, and it will run. Is this okay? Okay, so now I'm going to back to the slides. We have something called identifier and keywords. Every language has identifiers and keywords, and there are certain rules. Identifier, is basically naming of your variable, so that we call identifier. So there are certain rules to put an identifier name, and I think this is the same as a C++ or C. So that is nothing new. So it's like your identifier name start from your not from digit. It should be start from characters, and then it should have a certain special character, not all. So it's like you can have a dollar or underscore. So that is permissible. And then you have something like special keywords. I mean, every language have certain keywords and some reserved words. So that cannot be your variable names. So reserved words or keywords are not keywords are the special purposes words that language used for some special meaning. So if you put that name as the variable, it will throw in an error that because it confused it, compilers it confused that is this a real that meaning or something like it's not identifier. So keywords are reserved words which are predefined in the language, like in Java, something like a boolean or class or abstract. So all the keywords in Eclipse, you will give it in different colors. So like in class name, have you seen this is the class name is some different color. So these are basically in different colors. So it means this meaning compiler has some different meaning for these keywords. And your program is some other colors in showing in different colors. So identifier is composed of sequence of character where each character can either be a letter or digit or underscore or dollar. So special characters only two allowed, underscore and dollar. And identifier cannot be Java keywords. So and it cannot start with the digit. So it's the same as the C++ also. So then we have some data types in Java. We called it primitive data types or basic data types, and then we have a classes that we are going to learn it. But this is a basic data types or primitive data type. Every language has some data type. Here we have something called byte. Byte is a data. There's basically a numeric data types which takes one byte of your space, and its values going to. I mean, you can represent 8 bits like on that 0 starting from 0 to 7, and then its value takes us minus 2 to the power 7 to the 2 to the power 7 minus, and it's a sign. So it's a take negative numbers also because it's just a numeric data types. So that's a byte, and sort is 2 bytes, and so that is minus 2 to the 15 to the 2 to the power 15 minus 1. So it's signed which is take negative values also. That sort is also a data types which takes a numeric data types, numeric values, and then char. It takes 2 byte, and again it is a 0 to 2 to the power 6 minus 1, so it's unsigned, which is not taking negative values. And here is the character. I mean here's the difference. I think you can see it in C++ and C. It's character. Characters data types only take 1 byte. There here is 2 byte because it supports many languages, in Chinese and others. Is more than 256 characters. So here in character in Java, it's take 2 bytes. So you can represent many other character which takes more than 250. Which have more than 256 characters. So that is one of the advantage again in Java have. Now integers is a 4 byte, and long is again 8 bytes. Float is 4 bytes, double 8 bytes, and booleans. Integer and longs are numeric, and float double is numeric, but it's a decimal value, so it's take a decimal numbers. So by default, if you declared a decimal number, it will go to as a double, and if you don't typecast is to float, so that default is double byte data types. And then boolean is basically 1 byte, and it's taking as a true and false.
So, Pawan, do we know when do we go for this byte and short?
Okay, this depends upon both are. See, this what is the when to use byte and what is use integer. This depends about what are the data you are handling it. Suppose you are handling employee number, and you assume that employee number is not going to be more than minus 2 to the power 7. That is a 32 something, 32,000 or something. If that number going to deal with, and you know pretty sure that, then you go to the byte it. But you're not sure it. I mean, because sort is a bit higher end of that numeric. So sort can hold a byte data. So it's like that data range, the sort can hold the data, but it will a bit misuse of your memory. If you're really sure that your number is not, because every variable where you set it, it takes 2 byte memory, and you can assume that in your program is in complexity of order of n square. In a space complexity. So every variable where you are creating many variables, that it will take that amount of space in your program. But if you're sure that, so it depends upon how you visualize your problems. And but someone directly say that I will take a long can hold. I mean, it's not that it will throw an error, but basically here your skills will come here. I mean, where a programmer programming skills will come, that where to use which data types, which is suitable for that set of data. It would again, if integer, I mean decimal data types also can hold like double. If you have only treating with the positive numbers and not decimal numbers, I mean then double still can hold it. But is this a wise decision? I didn't think is a wise decision to use without decimal numbers with the double, because decimal representation and is a different format in Java, and we call it decimal representation. That is a bit complex with character and mantissa. We saved it with a different way to handling this decimal number. That is a bit complex, and your performance is going to reduce it if you treat those things where you don't need it. So that is your basically intelligence. Where to use these data types more efficiently. Okay.
Got it. So the byte and short accepts only numeric, is it?
That's
or
correct.
does it accept characters also?
No, that's a numeric.
Okay, only numeric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's basically like if I already know before I start the code, like what would be the maximum number, then I just can go and choose whichever suits well.
Yeah, that's correct. You're right.
Okay. Thanks.
Then there is a set of keywords. These are just in my screen. These are the list of C keyword and in Java. So like abstract, we're going to learn all these. What are the use, boolean and break and byte and case switch, etc. All these. But if you see, there is a two red color. One is a goto and another is const. So there is a difference between keywords and reserved words. In every language, and keywords, and what is the difference between keywords and reserved words? The keywords that is a special purpose words. So compiler treat these keywords as some other meaning. So you cannot create a variable with that keywords. Even you cannot create variable with the reserved word. But reserved words is something that it has been reserved for, though it's not using it. But it's reserved or some sort of put checks on that. It may used, or it was earlier was using it, or maybe future will use it, or some sort of a reservation on that. So that is a reserved words. Earlier Java had a go to a statement in the very beginning of that, and so now I don't have a go-to statement, but it's still in reserved word, so you cannot put a variable name with the go-to. So that is it's a reserved word. Then some default data type values. We haven't talked about references, but since you background in object oriented, so everything will talk about something called references. References. We create a class, we create an object. An object will have some references. In C++, we relate with something called pointers. Java doesn't have pointers, but it have a reference. I mean, in memory where you store the object, so you will have some references. So by default, if you don't give any references, you will take null value. And So similarly, byte, short, integer, and long. If you don't declare anything variable value, this default value will be 0. Hello, 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 hello,